Hey guys, welcome out to the shop today. Ever since I got this Hitachi saw, I've wanted to upgrade some of the pieces on it, and one of the things that I wanted to do was build a crosscut sled. And there's two major reasons why I wanted this: for accuracy and also make it safer for cutting smaller parts. So for example, if I had this piece of wood right here and I wanted to cut it at 6 inches, we could do it either that way or we could cut back this way. And as you can see, that's almost right in half. Say this is for a smaller box. Well, you'd either have to bring it out way out here or either way out here for the cuts, and that's not safe because there's not much hanging on over here. You have a lot of flex that you get as you're getting in the saw, or you'd be able to come over to this other side and be able to cut it in this other miter track. So what I want to do is build the crosscut sled. That way I have support all the way across. No matter where I am, I can always put this in here and make safe, repetitive cuts. So I'm going to be using some 3/4 inch birch plywood. It seems to be very stable wood. With the plywood, you don't have any real movement because of the mixing of the different layers of wood. And also I'm going to be using a 3/4 inch just because it's a little bit beefier. Be able to rip 2 strips down for the back and then use 2x4 for the furthest fence. So let's go ahead and get building this. So the first thing that we gotta do is make the runners for the crosscut sled. And what I have is digital calipers. And what I've done is went ahead and measured in between the rail or the sides. And as you can see, I get 19.34 inches. And I came over here with the depth gauge portion and put it on the edge of the tooth. As you can see right there, I've got it on the edge of the tooth, and then I went ahead and butted the fence up to the tip of that depth gauge. So now I should be able to go ahead and rip down 2 runners for each slot. Now that we got this ripped down, we can go ahead and test fit it. And as you can see, it goes in there nice and tight. And there is no play whatsoever in there. If there was play, we'd want to go ahead and recut it and make it a little bit wider. What you want is this to be a tight-ish kind of fit. And then you can use sandpaper and go along the edge and actually work it looser until it's a perfect fit. But as you can see, that slides nice and there is no play side to side. I went ahead and cut a 24 by 24 inch square out of my 2x4 sheet of the birch. And what I'm going to go ahead and do now is move my fence into 18 inches. I'll cut 6 inches off of here and then I'll rip that in half, and this part will be for the back fence. So for the back side of the crosscut sled, I'm just going to use a 2x4 because there doesn't have to be any real hardwood or anything on this. This is just merely to hang or hold the 2 pieces of the plywood together after we get it cut. So I've got it already set up from where we cut the 2 front pieces. I want to match the size, so I've got this 2x4. I'm just going to go ahead and run this through the slot. Alright, so right now we're kind of in the glue up stage of things. We want to go ahead and put the runners in here. Now these have a bad spot on them right there, so we're going to go ahead and put that out as far front forward as possible. So we'll put that one in there, and then we'll grab this other one, and you can see it's got the bad spot there as well. So we'll go ahead and put that one in there. Now it doesn't matter exactly where you're putting the runners lengthwise because these are so long. You have the short ones, you want to go ahead and leave them short, but I'm going to leave these kind of in the middle so that I got some of it hanging out on the ends and I can just trim that up later. So what I want to go ahead and do now is run some glue on the runners, and then I have my piece of plywood. Table saw is already unplugged, and I will just go ahead and put that on there and let that sit with the glue. Now this is a little bit higher than the table saw because I am using the 1/2 inch plywood, so I don't have to use anything to lift the runners up, and this will stay off the table. And this shouldn't be a problem at all with any kind of flex or anything like that, because I'm not going to put any heavy weight on there, and it should slide back and forth just fine. Alright, so now that we've gotten glue on here, I'm going to go ahead and be using the table saw fence as a reference. So I'll make sure that this corner is up against the back side of the table saw, and then this edge is completely against that fence. And we'll just work it down. There we go. So now we just need to find some weight to put on there and hold that in place for a little while. So we just got done drilling all the pilot holes, and I used this drill bit with a little blue painter's tape on it as a flag, so I knew how deep to go. I don't want to go too deep, drill all the way through the table. So I'm going to use 1-inch drywall screws, and you can see that's about just shy of 1 inch. So now I've got a countersink bit. I'm just going to go ahead and run over all these holes real quick. I don't know if that's going to be a big enough one. Got the other part cut off for the rails, and it slides very nice inside the tracks. There's no side-to-side movement whatsoever. So now it's going to be time to go ahead and attach the two fences. We're going to start with the back one first, because that one is just going to be holding these two sides together after we cut that little mark. So before we attach the back fence, we're actually going to make a small bevel on the bottom of it, and that is just to clear out all of the dust, so that if you put another piece of wood on the back fence and you try to saw it, it'll be flush against the fence and it won't be against all the sawdust, build that up. So we've tilted the blade. We're just going to run this across and just make a very, very small cut. Alright, so what we've got going on right now is we got the sled pulled all the way off the table saw. This is my front fence right here. What I'm going to do is drill over on this corner first, get a screw mounted in this section. So we'll switch over and countersink a hole or a screw in there, and then we have to get the fence aligned to the blade. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is run the table saw sled over the saw blade as it's raised up over top of here, so I can get a line on my sled to reference a square point off of it. So what I'm going to do is start it up. Now that I've got the line cut in here, I can go ahead and line my square up on that line and then butt the fence up to it. So we have, that is squared up. We don't want to put screws throughout the entire base of this because we want to make sure that it's square before we secure it all the way to this sled. So right now I'm going to go ahead and cut a few test boards or one board and check to make sure it's completely square. All right, so I got my square out here and I'm just checking to see how square this is. And I'm actually holding it up to the light. I'm gonna check all the sides. And there are other methods. You can take your measuring tape or ruler and measure from corner to corner to see how square that is. So we can even do that. We can put this on that point. This one's not like incremental. It doesn't have all the marks, but so if we do it from, so we're looking at 6 1/8. And we're at 6 1/8 as well right there. So this piece is square. Now you can take digital calipers and get it down to the hundredths of an inch or something like that. But this is a smaller crosscut sled. So the pieces that I'm going to be cutting on that are not going to be huge. So this piece being 6 1/8 across both ways, this is square. This is square enough for me. I'm not going to be cutting huge pieces where it's going to be 6 feet long, and if it's hundredth of an inch, it's going to be so many, it's going to be like half an inch out at the other end or whatever. I'm not worried about it. This is a smaller crosscut sled. The biggest thing I'd probably be cutting on this might be 12 inches. So you don't have to be super precise when you're making these. If you're going to be making a huge crosscut sled, yeah, you might want to be a little bit more precise. But for me, this is good enough. I'm not going to adjust the fence anymore. You know, I use the square when I'm cutting other pieces of wood to match up for furniture and stuff like that. I use a square, so why not use the same square to get this dialed in? I'm happy with it. I think that this would be fine. So now I got to go ahead and mount the rest of the fence down. Right here, we're just applying some paste wax. The board is not resting terribly hard on the table because of how high the runners are. But if it does grab the table at all, this will help in letting it slide a lot easier. So let's see how well this slides now. Doing the digital calipers for the runners works extremely well, and it can be extremely precise. So now we'll just flip it around, find the holes. Ooh, that almost went on. So look, that works. So guys, this works fantastic. It's gonna be a great addition to the shop with the table saw. I screwed my fence down right here, did not glue it because I'm planning on doing some upgrades to it later. I want to use it a little bit, find out what I want, maybe a T-track in the front or on the top with a flip down stop or something like that. That's why I did not glue this down. I want to be able to take it off, modify it a little bit, something like that. Or if I want a bigger section here in the middle, I have the ability to do that instead of having it glued down, having to make a new table. Thank you guys for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, hit that thumbs up button. I really appreciate that. Leave comments down below whether you guys have any tips, suggestions, anything like that. If you guys are new, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell because that'll give you all the notifications. I post videos every week on Sunday. Thanks guys for watching. Hope you guys have a good week, and we'll see you guys on the next project.